Welcome to All Things Engineering by EIT. This is a podcast where we cover industry insights, emerging trends, and practical knowledge across engineering disciplines.
Hi, my name is Natalie Deng. I'm the Digital Learning Manager at the Engineering Institute of Technology, EIT. I look after our short courses here, a little bit of teaching and learning, and I have a fair bit of involvement in our AI and automation activities across the sort of admin and operational space, I suppose, along with a bunch of other very experienced colleagues. And I'm here today with Siobhan.
Hello. So I'm Siobhan. I work as the HR advisor and generalist at the Engineering Institute of Technology. So not as involved with the students, but I do sessions for our newer students, and we'll talk about things like getting ready for the industry, how to write a really good CV, those kinds of things.
So today we're going to be talking about cracking the code of landing your next engineering job and how AI is sort of influencing that space. So both from the recruiter perspective and also from the employee or future employee perspective. So I'm by no means the expert in this area.
Neither am I at all, but it's something that I guess both of us have to encounter in our day-to-day activities.
Yeah, we're both definitely exposed to different parts of that process.
Yeah,
I've
for
done
sure.
Hiring, not to the extent that Siobhan does, of course, but bits and pieces. And I also have seen a fair bit written around AI and how that is actually influencing that process for recruitment as well.
So I suppose, the best thing to, leap into the topic on would be just talking about how it's changing hiring, I guess, as that's sort of the first step. So, I know that AI is really impacting things where you get so many people applying for jobs, sometimes it can be in the hundreds. So an area that AI has really stepped in to help out in some ways is that it will sort of automatically go through candidate suitability. And there's some AI tools where you can set it to say, well, anyone who's got 85% suitability to what the criteria is will go through into the pool that you'll actually look at, and everyone else just gets put to the side as not suitable, so their CVs don't get seen by any actual person.
It's a bit of a risk, isn't it? I think I read somewhere that something like 40% of Australian businesses are using AI in some capacity in their hiring.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, for someone who does recruiting as a really big part of my job, it's helpful in some ways, but obviously on the flip side of that, as someone who has applied for jobs and done those things, and now I see how much gets put to the side as being not suitable, it's helpful in the way that, cuts down a lot of manual work, but I think it does run that risk, and it definitely does put people aside who could be fantastic candidates.
Do you think that having AI introduced into that sort of initial screening process reduces bias?
I think it depends on the AI, because I think recently that they were talking about the people who have built certain AIs have built their own biases into the system.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it definitely removes some of it. But yeah, it's one of those things, it's never going to be a perfect system. And I think the things that it writes people off for isn't necessarily biased. It can also just be the formatting of how someone's done their resume, which is unfortunate.
That's very true. I think it's going to depend on, you're right, the model, because what is that particular AI tool, built on? What kind of data is it built on?
Yeah.
What's it looked at? I think I read somewhere that having gaps in a resume is sort of indicative that it might be a woman who's maybe had children or had a career break for whatever reason, and that may be seen, that career break, as a negative by an AI tool.
Yeah. I think it's something that humans definitely, unfortunately, have that bias. But AI tools will kind of see a gap, and I don't know necessarily how it breaks the process of it, but it definitely makes them go, oh, we'll write that one off. People also put a lot of their pictures, like a headshot, in there, which the AI tools aren't good at reading, so it makes it a bit glitchy.
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that does help reduce those biases that recruiters might have. Including pictures is contentious in the HR world.
Yeah. I mean, good on anyone who has the confidence to be like, this is my face, you should hire me. But yeah, it can break the AI tools where they might get put into the unsuitable section straight away.
True.
The formatting, it doesn't know how to read it. But again, if it doesn't break it, it's great that they might then go through where a person might not have.
I can imagine at volume when you have hundreds or even thousands of applications, and I guess in the field of engineering that's definitely the case. In some of the bigger firms and in companies, they're going to be getting huge amounts of applications, and it would be such an appealing time-saving solution to have AI do that initial screening.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to individual companies, but it must be happening a fair bit.
Yeah, and it's, I'm sure that the candidates that are going through are really suitable and they are fantastic. It's, I guess, any time you get new technology, there's going to be that trade-off, and I think that is what is happening with AI for, mass applications. It's more efficient, but there's just some people who maybe should have got through that don't.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see in, a couple of years if there's any sort of research around how those hiring processes compare and what the employees are actually, is it improving the goals that the companies want? Are they retaining those hires and that sort of thing?
Yeah, for sure. I suppose the other aspect of it is, yes, there is AI that is now reviewing your CV, so people are now having to adapt to how they write their resume and their cover letter as well. So it's definitely something that I think people are still writing it in the sense of they think a person is going to be reading it. So, maybe a little bit more flourished language or something like that, but people are going to have to start adapting to, okay, it's probably more and more likely that it's AI that's reading through this.
That's it.
But I think you can also then use AI to help you write a good resume for AI.
You can, and I think you can get a bit circular, I suppose, where you can potentially have AI written CVs being assessed by AI.
Yeah.
Are we going down an interesting path there, and how much is that a reflection of the actual candidate and what the hirer wants from a candidate if everyone is just using AI. So I think there is good ways to use it and not
for sure.
as good ways to use it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, for someone who has to read through hundreds and hundreds of cover letters and resumes, you can tell when someone has used AI because they will clearly copy and paste the job description, put it into ChatGPT or some other AI system, and you'll get 10 in a row that you'll read that will all essentially say the exact same thing.
That's it. It's sort of a race to mediocrity. If everyone's looks and reads the same, then nobody stands out. And when everyone is just taking the job description and plugging it straight into AI, write me a cover letter, write me a CV for this, you're not necessarily going to stand out as an applicant. Yeah,
I think as a recruiter, it also makes you question someone's ability to write. Are you going to be able to structure an email? Are you going to be able to just, send off a message or, things like that? So it takes a lot of character out where, like you're saying, no one stands out. But I think it's still great to use those prompts and use AI to be like, how can I say that I did this very specific thing and make it stand out in this part of the cover letter to address this section of the job description? But I think people are just getting too reliant on doing it with a very basic prompt.
That's it. And I know that there are some employers that actually screen cover letters and CVs for AI usage. Now, how effective those screening tools are, I think is very debatable. I don't think AI is that easily detectable, especially not as the models continue to improve. But I have heard that there are some that will immediately discount any applicants that have used AI or, I guess, obvious AI.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with people using AI. I think it's a really great tool, particularly if English is your second language.
Yeah.
People will absolutely, unfortunately, be written off if, they haven't written a very clear resume. AI is great for helping with that, but it just...
I think what I would be concerned about if I was in the job market and if I wanted to use AI is making sure that it's actually a true depiction of my skills and that I'm not like falsely inflating what I can do. Yeah. Because I think recruiters and employers can certainly check against LinkedIn. They can check, they'll do reference checks, right? So if that sort of spiel in your cover letter, if it's been entirely written by AI and you've not checked it and not put your own voice on it and understand what you've written, then how are you going to defend that in an interview, assuming that you then go and get one? Yeah,
great to get the sort of the bones or the basic structure of it, but then I beg people read through it and, rewrite it, just get it to, even just to get, I guess, I'm going to do this in the first paragraph or this in the first paragraph for a cover letter, just to get that structure. I know that can be a hard one to struggle with, of which thing do I address first, but then make it your own. Put in actual things about yourself that you've done.
I think that's sort of hitting the nail on the head, because if you're a new person to an industry, so say you're a graduate and then you're going out there and you're looking at applying for graduate jobs in engineering for the first time, you may not know what the sort of expectations are in terms of what to put on your cover letter, what to put on your CV. And I think AI can definitely help there, like you said, around having English as a second or third or fourth language, right? It's definitely worth using AI to pass and check for spelling and grammar and things like that, because no one likes reading a CV with spelling errors in it.
Yes, particularly when that CV says that one of their core skills is attention to detail.
Absolutely, you must see that a bit. So, there's definitely a balance there, and I think it's about finding what works for you, what tools work for you, and then, like you said, making sure that you've got your authentic voice in there. And it's not just a checklist. There is sort of automated tracking systems and stuff for recruiting. How do those work?
It's a little bit... So we don't actually use them here, so it's not something I have hands-on experience with. But an ATS is essentially, you can set up criteria of, we're looking for a CV that has this, this, and this. So you might be able to say, years of experience, it has to be between this bracket. And so then the applicant tracking system can review and then scan and be like, okay, so this person has X amount of experience. How it does that, I'm not totally sure. I think that's where a lot of the risk comes in of, if you've not said on your resume, I have this many years of experience doing this, and it's just trying to read the dates of your jobs, that might confuse it. I'm not totally sure. So it can review things like that. You can also set up things like, you could look for gaps. This is the thing. I think I've not used it, but I think because of how you can set up an ATS, you can put your own bias into what it's looking for. Which is... Whether
you're using AI or not, it's going to be the case, right? Whether it's just looking for form fields or scanning someone's sort of native CV. It's whatever you put in as your parameters.
It's still kind of putting a bias. I mean, I would hope that, I think if you're a good recruiter, that you're not someone who's going to discount someone for having a gap. I'm sure that there are people out there though. So I think bias still goes into an ATS in that sense.
And there's things that, that might not be so obvious, like age and other sort of discriminatory, subtle things, but that might be able to be picked up by AI now.
I think, you can also do things where you'd be able to put in parameters like they have to have a master's, or, someone at least has to have a university degree with like a bachelor's or something like that. So you can do all of those quite specific things and look for that. But I imagine you could also plug in some things that would create a bit of bias.
Interesting stuff. So thinking about how you stand out then, and discussing that, there are definitely ways I think that AI tools can be used to help tailor your job search as a future employee, as a job hunter. Finding the right prompts is going to depend on exactly what job you want. But definitely things like optimizing your LinkedIn profile, I think we're all
100%,
prone to sometimes letting things like that get out of date a little bit.
100% I'm guilty of that, which is terrible as someone who works in the area that I work in.
It is, but it's easy if you're not job hunting or actively job hunting. So I think that's probably one way that AI can help, have a look at my LinkedIn profile, help me highlight any gaps, and not just highlighting gaps in terms of what you're putting on there, but also areas that you might want to go on and do further study. So comparing your dream job advert to your own skill set and saying, well, how do I get from A to B?
That's a really good point, actually, kind of, using it, I guess, as not a mentor in a way, I suppose.
Like a coaching
like how
tool,
can I get from this to this? What would I do? Yeah, I hadn't actually thought of that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that's where AI can be quite useful, because it might give you different perspectives that you've not thought of. It might highlight, especially if you are new to a specific industry or if it's a new field in engineering, something that's perhaps not had tons of, what's what I'm looking for? Like, it's not very established.
Yeah.
And so there may not be a lot of expectation around what's required for these kind of roles.
Yeah.
So how do you then stand out in that market? What kind of skills do you need to develop to get
how can I be a
in there?
trailblazer?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you stay at the forefront of your industry?
It's also really great for pulling up articles and going, like, here's this new leading thing in engineering. Like, here's the cutting edge stuff. Where that's always something really impressive if you're interviewing someone and you can say, like, well, how do you stay on top of industry trends? Like, why are you interested in this industry?
That's a really
good thing to do before an interview. Is you can use AI to go, hey, I'm applying for this specific engineering role. What's the most exciting news coming out about the industry right now?
That's a really good idea.
It's so impressive when someone does that in an interview.
Yeah, I think I like in interviews when people have, say, looked at our website and they've checked our current projects or they've read something in our latest newsletter. It just shows that sort of engagement with that hiring process. It shows that they're interested in actually working for us.
Yeah.
And I think AI can definitely help there, but I would caution anyone to check your AI isn't hallucinating. Because it will often give absolute rubbish links that aren't real. You've got to make sure that your
check
sources. Check your sources. I think that's universal advice.
But I think that's one way that AI can really help someone stand out, aside from having a good cover letter and resume, which great, but giving that edge of showing that you're interested and standing out and being more engaged. I love when that happens in an interview.
No, that's good advice. I think AI can help in terms of I know that this company is doing this project. I know this is happening in industry. I know there's some really cool developments going on here. How can I bridge that gap in the interview with my experience? And AI can help you, give you some dot points of what to discuss in an interview. And beyond that, there are definitely AI tools that can help you practice for your interviews.
It's really good to take the job description and put it into whatever AI software you choose, and say, what are some likely questions I would be asked in this interview? Yeah. It's not going to 100% get it, but it is really good prep to make you think about how you're going to have to answer.
And with the voice capabilities of AI now, whether it's GPT or anything else, I think having that conversational back and forth is really good practice, especially if you're nervous in interviews.
Yeah.
You can ask, there are really good, even paid tools out there that will let you do interview coaching and talk to an AI bot, so you don't have that sort of insecurity of having to speak to a real person and, fumble your words and things like that.
Yeah.
And it can really build confidence. And I think that interpersonal skill, it's like you said, well and good to have a beautifully written CV and cover letter, but if it doesn't translate into the interview room, then it's kind of all for nothing, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you could have 50 people who are suitable and have a really well-written resume and cover letter, but once you get into the interview, that's where you're going to stand out and potentially get the role.
I think you're right. And when you're using AI, so if you want to help AI tighten up your wording, make it more clear in your cover letter and your CV, you have to be aware of what the terms you're using mean.
Yes.
I think. So if you're saying, optimize processes and whatever other jargony terminology you want to use, you have to then be able to say, well, that's what this means.
Yeah, or here's how I did. Yeah. Here's how I did, in fact, optimize a process.
Exactly, yeah. It's not just throwaway phrasing. And I think...
Yeah, I feel like we keep going, AI is great, but...
Yeah.
The but to this section is... It's so great that it can help people be more confident with those things, but I would also caution people of being very aware of not sounding rehearsed and not being so set on the things you've discussed with ChatGPT that you then, I guess, are swinging away from the question they're asking you to answer with
it's very
what
frustrating.
you've already sort of discussed and what you know.
Yeah.
Like, still make sure that you're focusing on the actual question they're asking, and an interview does put you on the back foot naturally. So it's great that AI can help you prepare, but don't rely too much on being rehearsed.
Yeah, I think you have to be adaptable, right?
Yeah, very much so.
You might get a question in response to one of your responses in an interview, and you can tell pretty quickly in interviews when people have got a bunch of set questions that they understand and they know how to answer, and then the second that you throw a spanner in, they sort of fumble a bit, and it becomes very clear when they really know what they're talking about, or they perhaps don't. So practicing with that too, and you can get someone, or AI even, throw me a left field sort of question.
I think it's a horrible thing I do in interviews sometimes, but if someone has said something about the work that they've done or something they've achieved, I will quite often respond with, can you elaborate on that? Which I feel like AI, it's a little bit harder to get it to do that.
It is, and it's very contextual. So this goes back to just preparing for the actual job that you're applying for and making sure that you really understand it well. There are tools out there, early tools that are, workflow automation AI tools that will say, I can send off your CV to 100 different job apps, which I think is quite spammy and not necessarily the best way to go about job hunting.
It also then doesn't really tailor what you're sending. So I guess a really important thing that I would say about using AI for your resume as well is get it to give you the structure and help with the content and things like that. But if one role, if the ad is emphasizing we want this stuff, and another ad is emphasizing, we're more focused on this thing. If you have skills in both, that's great, but rejig your resume to then make the other things stand out that they're looking for. Don't just have the one thing that you keep sending off, tailor it to everything.
Because you can tell, right, when someone's just used the same cover letter and CV, and they've just sent it off to 20 different job applications, because you'll have a bunch of things on there that are irrelevant to the job you're looking for.
It's also using AI to say, I'm really excited to apply at this job at your fine establishment. It's like, do you know what yes, be specific. So
which fine establishment?
When it does that mass firing off of things, you can always tell. And again, they might have really good skills and experience, but if I'm comparing that to someone else's application that does have more personality to it and is tailored, that's who I'm going to invite for an interview.
I think that the best kind of cover letters are the ones that are not too long and written in a way to talk about personal experience and then tying it to the job description. So maybe pulling out a couple of key points and saying, well, this is what I've done in my current role or my previous roles or my studies, and how I will be a good fit for this role. And not in really verbose, paragraphs, but straightforward, simple, and I guess the people hiring or the recruiters at the early stages don't necessarily have the technical background either.
Absolutely. I work at the Engineering Institute of Technology, but my exposure to actual engineering is very limited. So, I can look at that and go, that sounds very impressive, but
that's right. When
the technical jargon, it's a bit. People need to keep in mind that it is going to be a human who, at the end of the process, is choosing who to interview.
That's right. Well, hopefully it is. There's definitely cases where AI bots will interview applicants as well, right?
I think, that's going to be a creepy time.
Have you seen any?
No.
Oh, that's good. Yet. We certainly don't use them. That's a good thing.
It's not popped up yet. But with, using all that technical jargon, it's not to say don't use it, but I think using an AI prompt to say, how can I make this stand out and get across my technical expertise to someone who isn't a technical expert and still making it sound impressive. So more like quantifying your achievements and things like that is what's going to stand out.
And I think AI is quite good at that, this is write it for your very technical, high-level engineering professional, but then scale it back. So how do I explain this to somebody who is not in the industry? So
the interview is where you're going to get the technical.
So making sure you have your acronyms expanded on and things like that, because they can be very specific, and not everyone will know them. Hopefully the person who eventually hires you will. But,
you would hope.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, we've talked a bit about using AI as a career coach. I think on a broader scale, you can definitely use it to research things like salary benchmarking, although with a grain of salt.
Yes, it's good to give a general guide for that kind of thing, but I think it can give people a lot more confidence when they get to the interview stage to say, this is the salary I'm looking for, if they, but again, as we said earlier, make sure it's not hallucinating.
Yeah, and being realistic.
Yeah, and again, it's just using the right prompt. So you could say, hey, can you review this kind of role on Seek, give me the average salary range?
Yeah.
So I think it's just learning to use it with that specificity instead of going, hey, what's the salary range for this?
That's right.
I think what's the salary range on Seek in whatever city you're in, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because AI is great with natural language. You can, just talk normally. However, if you want to get the most out of your prompts, it's good to have them a bit more structured and be specific, give context, put in links, put in, sections of very specific job requirements that you're looking for, qualifications, that kind of thing. What does a graduate of a Master of Civil Engineering, what can they sort of look at a salary in this country at this time, maybe for these companies, and I think that's probably going to get you a better, more accurate result, right?
Sorry. I think it's also really good for, I suppose, specifically for engineering, if you're looking at, Woodside or Rio or BHP, anything like that, it's a really great thing to potentially use AI to say, okay, what benefits do each of these companies offer? Like, what's their, DEIB policies? You can use it to really do a comparison of the places that you're looking to work without having to, individually go to those websites. And you can really quickly go, that doesn't sound like somewhere I want to work. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So it can give you a really good overview of where you are looking into.
Yeah. Even in job hunting, there are, again, AI tools that can scrape. Whether that's ethically, reasonable or not is another question, but it can search for jobs across the internet on, Glassdoor and Indeed and Seek. Those websites often have their own algorithms anyway. So they will sometimes allow that, they sometimes won't. So relying on AI tools to pull you every possible job that's out there is, I think, kind of flawed. I haven't used it, so I don't know. There may be really good options out there for doing that, but I would just be aware that that's something that is also perhaps limiting your search. So making sure that you're searching for different keywords. Again, AI can help there. How is this job referred to in a different country or in a different company? They may not all have the same exact title of the job you're looking for.
Yeah, variations in job title, I think AI would be great for going, this is all the variations of this job title that is currently out there.
We talked about interview prep as well. There are so many different, just a quick Google will bring up so many different options for sites and subscriptions and things that you can pay for. There's interviewprep.ai, HireVue, Udly, Interviewer AI, Pramp. They all allow you to sort of do mock interviews, to analyze your speech patterns. They can simulate technical interviews and all kinds of things. If you're perhaps not confident in interviews or you're still developing your English language skills, those could be good options.
Yeah, look, I've never really used them, but I think definitely building that confidence. And if, depending on how advanced some of those are, it's, if it can give that very natural back and forth where you do get sort of further questioned on things, that would be super valuable.
I've not used them myself either. Not looking for work at the moment. But these tools are out there, and I think they're continuously improving, and just being aware of what your options are as a job seeker. It's not making sure that you are.
I suppose you could use AI to ask,
exactly.
What AI tools can I use to prepare for this?
That's it. One other thing we wanted to chat about is how EIT helps students prepare for these jobs of the future.
Yeah, it's like I said at the start, I don't really have a lot of involvement with the students. It's more the staff. But one of the things I do is I work with student services where, a couple of times every semester we'll do a presentation for students on this is how you write a really good resume, this is how you write a really good CV, here's how you can effectively use different types of AI to prepare you for these things. So it's actually really enjoyable for someone who, I see these students on campus every day. I don't really get to interact with them, but it's really good to sit with them and they'll ask further questions that I haven't thought of and say, oh, well, can I use AI for this thing? It's like, that's brilliant. It's really good to get them engaged, but it is something that we do focus on with our students because it's all well and good to have a degree behind you and have all that technical skill, but the next step is then getting hired, and that is such a big hurdle. It shouldn't be, but it is. So I think I would hope that other educational institutions would offer the same.
I think it's pretty common, at least in Australia, in the university sector, and there are all kinds of options available for students to help them build those skills. So it's definitely a priority for EIT, making sure that we make those sort of things available. From a sort of course development side of things, which is, I guess, my side, we're constantly engaging with industry. So we have, our academics go out and speak to industry, and we have in-house training and all sorts of things, and that all gets fed back to us. And I guess what we want to make sure is that we are offering courses, whether they're little mini professional certificates or self-paced courses, which we're starting to do a bit more of, or whether it's just adjusting the content in our bachelor or master or doctoral degrees to make sure that they're aligning with what industry wants right now. So it's all well and good to say, well, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, when we developed the course, this was what our industry panels told us they wanted. But with the way technology is evolving, we know, for example, that AI skills, AI literacy, automation, they're all big things, robotics, management skills, interpersonal skills, are all things that keep coming up in engineering that we try and build into our courses or into little courses so that our graduates can at least be prepared. So that
and efficient with you. I think there's that general nervousness people have spoken about of, is AI going to replace my job? Is it going to replace this thing in engineering or that thing in engineering? And I think a lot of it is, it will replace some things, but AI won't replace all of these jobs. It will replace people who aren't willing to use AI with people who are.
Yeah.
So I understand some people are hesitant to adapt to it, but they're going to have to, because they're going to, not even in engineering, in any role, I think people are, it's just going to become woven into everything. So it's, the fact that we prepare students and even change our content and things like that, it's necessary, I think.
Yeah, you have to be adaptable, right? There was the Australian government or economic roundtable that they ran in August, and one of the outcomes of that was highlighting the importance of ensuring that graduates across all kinds of areas, not just engineering, are job ready and have these AI skills. So it's not just us saying this. I think there is a lot of contention, and you'll see both perspectives. Either AI is going to replace 70% of all jobs by 2027, or actually AI's hit its peak and it's actually not that useful. So you'll see both extremes, and then everything in between. And I think it's not too early to say, because it's already having impacts.
I mean, we both do very different roles, and it's already impacted both of our roles as well.
That's right, but I don't think it can be ignored. I think the economic benefits and the time saving and everything else is too significant to pretend it doesn't exist. I
mean, there's obviously negatives to it, but I think anyone who isn't willing to adapt to it and take it on board, that's just going to be to their own detriment. Yeah,
that's it.
I think they're... we've just spoken for 30 minutes about how effective it can be and how helpful it can be in just this one area. So
as the technology evolves and changes, I think just staying on top of it and trying to engage and be aware. And there's so many places you can get information on AI and the current things happening. There are some really great Substacks and subscriptions and podcasts and YouTubes and a million other different sources. Finding some good ones that appeal to you, that speak to you, I think can be really useful, so that you have a regular source of reliable information that isn't just it doesn't have ulterior motives. So if you just read every release from OpenAI and take that as gospel, I think that might not be the best.
There would be some
approach.
bias.
Yeah, absolutely, because of course it's a product. So finding good sources for information about AI, about your career, about the changes in industry, I think is pretty important. Engineers Australia sometimes puts out some really good things, and I imagine all over the world there's different professional bodies for engineering that would also have good commentary on the area.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know where we're up to.
Should we talk about our key takeaways?
I think we should. I've also realised, and Rob is going to kill me, that this has been like click-clacking the whole time.
Sorry, Rob.
Sorry, Rob. Do you want me to do like key takeaways for like the HR?
Yeah.
So I suppose the key takeaways, from the perspective of what I do in recruiting is, yes, it can be a super helpful tool in all of the ways that we have discussed, but it really is on the person using it to learn to use the right prompts and not become overly reliant on it and not just copy and pasting whatever it is that it churns out to you. You still need to make yourself stand out by putting across real things about yourself, putting your own personality into it, making it come across, because it creates some great content, but as a human person reading it, I know when I'm reading something that is purely done by AI. And if I'm, like I said earlier, if I'm reading that next to someone who has, potentially used AI to get the structure of it, but then put their actual flair into it, that's who's going to get the interview. That's who's going to get through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a tool, it's brilliant. AI is such an asset to people who want to help bridge those gaps, their skill gaps, who want to make sure that they're getting the best opportunities and giving themselves the best chance of having success in their career, right? But it's just a tool, and it is going to depend on how you use it. And there's certainly a range of skills in that you need to have. You can't just take it off the shelf and expect that it's going to do all the work for you. Yeah,
like I'm not going to go and pick up a chainsaw and not look into how to use it if it's the first time I've done it. You've got to, do some preparation, get used to it, it's, adapt.
That's right. It's like a personal assistant in its sort of best form, it's and a coach, and it's helping you to be the best that you can.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's still got to be you at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's driven by you.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I guess it's, a vehicle, but you're the driver kind of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for chatting today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow and subscribe, and so that you don't miss future conversations. We've got some exciting guests lined up and a lot more to share. So do connect with us on social media and share your thoughts, questions, or experiences. So until next time, stay curious and keep pushing boundaries. Thanks, everyone.